Hello there guys, and welcome to another brand new video in the channel. Yes, it's another video from me. Very busy period at the moment, and here I am again because we are fast approaching the release of Horizon 6 Japan, as you're probably aware. Almost too fast for me to keep up, to be honest with you. But it's a really exciting time for us Forza fans and car enthusiasts alike. I personally am really excited to jump into the premium edition of the game on my live stream at 7 PM BST on the 15th of May. Make sure you're there if you haven't already secured that time already. I'll be live streaming for a couple of hours and see how far we get from the very beginning of the game. But I've also got a few things to do first, and one of them being this very video today. A summary, my summary, come best bits from the pre-release and preview build of Forza Horizon 6 that we've seen over the last couple of weeks and months. Rather than trying to tell you everything that you likely already know, I've picked out my personal highlights and interesting points of discussion, and we're going to run through them in this video. So, first of all, let's address a rather glaringly obvious one, the map. Now, the full map, I believe, has been released, only for one season, but it will look slightly different for the different seasons, but the actual content of the map will stay the same, like the roads and the landmarks. It'll just be kind of the colour and the background of the map that will change, and it simply looks awesome from what I've seen. Not just the world map, but actually the map when you're driving it as well, the features of the map in game. Really cool. I know some people were a bit worried when they saw IGN's rather dull and unexciting gameplay a couple of months ago, where the roads seemed too wide with no traffic, but more recent footage from Forza themselves and some of the other creators like AR12 Nick and Don Joe One Song shows that this is certainly not the case, and there are an abundance of narrow twisty tracks in villages and throughout the beautiful countryside that will be great for exploring. For me personally, with my Logitech G920 wheel setup that I like to use when I'm exploring the map and doing a bit of cruising. And there's also loads of them little narrow tracks that aren't actually official roads in the game, so there's around 670 roads in the game, but there's actually more than that, because some of these developers want you to discover the shortcuts and discover these little tracks to little houses without putting it all in front of you and giving you too much of a helping hand. Another thing that I want to talk about is the start of the game. I'm not going to cover too much of it because, as I said, you probably already know, but there's these Horizon qualifier races, there's the Legend Island that you have to work towards, a separate space on the map that you're only allowed to get to when you've completed so much of the game, and there's the wristbands as well, which are returning from previous Horizon games, that allow you to track your progress and work towards unlocking these things and ultimately the Legend Island. And the Horizon qualifier races kind of sit in line with the fact that you start as a tourist in Japan. That was something that the developers made a big point of when they first released some of the gameplay, that you start as a tourist. That means that you start with I think it's a C-class car in the game. I will come back onto the PI in a second as well. And that means that you're starting with virtually nothing. Not everything is given to you straight away like it was in Horizon 5 and previous games, although you do still get all 3 starter cars added to your garage, regardless of which one you choose, which is slightly disappointing, but the rest of the early career progression is pretty good in that respect. So coming back to that PI thing, the whole PI system has been completely reworked, so C600 from Horizon 5 would now be C500. Basically they've taken all of the PIs and gone minus 100, so D class still starts at D100, but instead of going all the way up to D500, it'll only go up to D400, then it'll be C500, B600, A700, S1 800, then they've got S2 900, then they've got a new PI class which is R class, which goes above S2, and then they've got X class from the previous games, which goes to 999. Now hopefully this is going to be really cool in terms of balancing out the leaderboards. Hopefully there'll be less meta, overpowered, ridiculously fast cars that no matter what surface or what racing discipline you put them on, they just absolutely obliterate everything else, and anybody can drive them and beat even a really experienced player because they're just ridiculously too fast. Hopefully that won't happen. You know, we've had cars like the Bone Shaker in Horizon 5, the Koenigsegg Jesko, the Hoonigan RS200 debatable, the Mercedes CLK GTR, and loads of others that have just been absolute meta in Horizon 5. There's far too many, so hopefully the fact that they've redone the PI system will balance that out and make things a bit more fair and close in terms of the racing. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that pans out in the actual game, because at the moment we only know it from the perspective of how they've actually done it. We've never seen it in practice, so we'll see if it actually works. Who knows if it will. On a similar vein, we've also got new power to weight ratio stats in the upgrade menu. So the upgrade menu and the delivery menu is kind of the same from what I've seen from Horizon 5. They've not changed too much. They've changed a couple of the icons, and they've added in loads of new rims again and body kits. They've redone the Forza Aero, which now looks great. If you haven't seen it, it looks realistic, basically like other Aero but non-branded and actually made to fit each car rather than just the same standard wing on each car, which makes some cars look absolutely ridiculous in Horizon 5. They've made that a lot better, but apart from that, not that much has changed, but there is in the stats when you can see what effect each upgrade is making to your car. You've got things like the speed, the handling, the acceleration, the launch, the braking, the off-road, but now there's also power to weight ratio stats in there as well, so it helps you to figure out, like for example, the engines, which is going to be not only the most powerful engine and the quickest, but also how it will affect your power to weight ratio, so that's really cool as well. A couple of other minor things that I've picked up on that I can't really tie to anything else is that there is a new checkpoint design. So the checkpoints are still the same colour, that neon kind of yellowy green, but they've got text on them, Japanese writing, so it kind of just makes it feel a bit more authentic and actually more personal rather than just a strip of flappy plastic or whatever it is that they actually use to base them checkpoints off. So that's really cool. Sticking on the theme of racing, there's some very accurate curb noises, so if you're going around, for example, one of the time attack areas that's in the game, if you haven't heard about that, perhaps go and give it a search on Google or YouTube. If you go over a curb, it makes a really nice sound, which is really realistic to real life racing, so that's really cool. The attention to detail in that respect is very good indeed, and it kind of bodes well for other features in the game. If they've put so much effort into making that accurate, then it suggests that other things will be really accurate and meticulous as well in that respect. Going back briefly to the upgrade menu, one thing that I did forget to mention is that you can put different rims on the front and the back of your car. So you can't put the different rims on the left or the right, but if you wanted one set of rims on the front two wheels, then you could put a different set of rims on the back two wheels. Not really sure why you would want to do that. I've only ever really seen it on like the Hoonigan cars or the Formula Drift cars, or actually the McLaren Speedtail, but that's kind of that one that's optimised for the lowest drag coefficient. But apart from that, I've never really seen it before, so it looked pretty funky, but the fact that you can do it and the fact that you can add window stickers as well and a couple of other things is very cool, and it'll just add to that personalisation for your journey in Horizon Japan. So you've got all that customisation, then you've got the new garages that you can customise as well as the player houses. You've got the estate, as they are calling it, which is an area at the top of the map where you can pretty much build anything that you want and show it off to people. So the level of personalisation in this game is probably a lot higher than any other Horizon games, which is very cool, and it's things like this that make it really accurate. Next up, I want to mention a few cars that I've spotted. There appears to be a Honda E in the game drivable, but also a Honda E traffic car, which is quite interesting. Some of the traffic cars seem to have been carried over from previous Horizon games, but then they have got a couple of new ones like the Honda E, the Mercedes G63 AMG. I also spotted in AR12 Nick's garage the Honda Beat. This was a car that Elf, one of my moderators and long-time followers, wanted to see in the game, so the Honda Beat is confirmed amongst obviously loads of other Japanese cars. The K cars and the K trucks are confirmed. There's obviously the cover car, the GR-GT as well, and the brand new Toyota Land Cruiser, the other cover car, which are really cool. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but I was reading about both of them in my Top Gear magazine, literally at the same time that they were confirmed as the cover car for the game earlier this year, so that was really spooky. That they were covered in the Top Gear magazine, and then a couple of days later I saw them on the cover of the new games. That was very, very cool. There's been loads of Forza Edition cars spotted. The Forza Edition cars have cool different number plates that are glowing and light up compared to the normal number plates. One of the Forza Edition cars is a Subaru BRZ, which is lifted to basically be a monster truck. It's a bit manic, really, from what I've seen. AR12 Nick did a whole video on it if you want to go and see it on his channel, and I will probably cover it when I get to it in the game myself, but if you want to see it now, then head over to Nick's channel, because he did a video on it. He did all sorts of ridiculous things with it, like he always does. But the point is, there's loads of new cars. I think the full car list has now been revealed. I'm not 100% on that, but there's lots of cars that people have spotted anyway. A couple of the creators that got early access spent most of their time looking for new cars, like DJ Lime, and there are hopefully a lot of brand new cars in the game, and obviously ones that have been carried over as well from previous games, so lots to look forward to in terms of cars. There are a couple of other upgrade things that I haven't mentioned as well. So the upgrade menu tells you what tyres are on the car as stock. So whereas in previous games it would tell you once you'd upgraded what the tyres were, you kind of had to guess what the stock tyres were. But it actually tells you now what the stock tyres are, whether they are sport tyres, whether they are rally tyres, whether they are drift tyres. It will tell you in the upgrade menu, so that you can then be better informed as to what tyres you actually want to put on. A couple of other things that I quite like the look of, one of them being that nearly all of the trees in the game are destructible. Might seem a bit irrelevant, but actually it is quite useful, especially in the Eliminator, to not have to dodge all the trees all the time. Will it make it a bit easier to drive around the map as the crow flies? Probably. However, it is cool that you don't have to constantly have to guess which trees are destructible and which aren't, because in Horizon 5 it seems to be that most of the bigger trees are non-destructible and most of the smaller trees are destructible. However, there's the odd smaller tree that catches you out, and even if you're in like a Mercedes 6x6 or Hennessy Velociraptor, it seems to be able to withstand the pressure at 150 miles an hour and pings you back about 100 meters. So it'd be very useful not to have that constant annoyance of guessing which trees are destructible and which aren't. Another thing is, harking back to the time attack circuits, is that there are billboard type displays around the circuit, and they show you which players are 1, 2 and 3 on the leaderboard for the time attack circuit. I'm guessing it's based on friends list. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm guessing it's probably based on friends list. Unfortunately, if you haven't heard the news, clubs are not going to be in the game because Xbox removed their clubs feature, and Horizon 6 currently is not going to introduce a clubs feature like Horizon 3, which was in the game. So currently it's going to have no clubs at all. So it won't be based off clubs, but it might be based off friends list. But it shows you the top 3 players in the class, which is quite cool, and it gives you something to work towards when you're going round, and you can probably pull over, see what the times are, and then set off again and see if you can beat their times to get yourself on that notice board. So that's quite cool. There's also another type of circuit, a running circuit, at the stadium. So Horizon 6 has a stadium like Horizon 5. Obviously it'll be slightly different, but it's got a running track in the stadium or next to the stadium, I can't quite remember, which is quite cool. Obviously we're not going to be running in this game because we can't, as far as I know, get out of our cars and run around a running track. However, it's quite cool. It's got label gates and entrances, so it's just a nice feature. It's something to add to the map, and there's obviously going to be loads of other things that they've incorporated that are not specific to driving but add to the feel of the map and the feel of Japan. Horizon Arcade has been ditched. It's going to be returning to the Forzathon Live style events every hour format for them type events. I'm not entirely sure what the name of it is, whether it is Horizon Arcade, whether it is Forzathon Live, but the point is they're ditching the thing of Horizon Arcade where it's every 15 minutes and it's going to be returning to on the hour, because hopefully this will increase the amount of people that actually do the events, because 15 minutes is probably too many events. So 4 events every hour and there's 3 to choose from, so that's actually 12 events every hour, so you tend to only be on your own or with one other person. But if they're every hour and there's only 1 available on the map, or 1 or 2, then you're going to get more people completing them, and so it'll feel more worthwhile and that you're actually part of a team completing it, which is the whole point. So it does make sense why they've gone back to that, so I totally agree with that. Split times are returning to the game, which is very, very useful because it shows you whether you're actually gaining on people. You don't have to kind of stare at the mini-map and figure out if you're gaining on them or not, and kind of toy with your brain. Am I getting on them, am I not? I'm not sure where I gain on them in that corner, but if you've got split times, that would be very obvious, but you can turn it off if you don't want it. So you can have them on, you can have them off, and you can customize them to specific players or events. So you could say you could set the split time to focus on one specific person in the race because you think that you might be having more of a close battle with them and you want to see the split times with just you and them, or you might only want it for certain events. And the same applies for the new proximity radar, which basically tells you if you're close to people, if you're going to collide with them. Very useful if you're in interior cam and you can't really see around the car as much. And again, you can turn that on and off and customize it to specific players and events. So it just adds to that point from earlier about the level of customization and personalization in this game that seems to have been taken to a new level with features like this, which is really, really cool. You can even filter leaderboards by PI class. Not only will this make it easier to identify the cheaters, but it'll make it more competitive. You don't have to scroll down hundreds of thousands of people to find the fastest A-class time, or only to find out that it's a cheater, and then carry on for another 50,000. You'll be able to filter and see who is near the top of each class, and it'll make it so that you don't have to use the meta cars all the time to get to the top of the leaderboard, because there's almost like separate leaderboards for PI classes. Even though there isn't, it'll kind of feel that way. So you'll be able to use lower class cars and underdog cars to try and get high scores on the leaderboards, which will be very cool, and it should hopefully encourage people to use a variety of cars rather than just one car for every event. Another really cool feature for this game is the aftermarket cars. You've probably heard about them by now, but these are cars that are placed around the map and they've got upgrades on them, and then you can buy them for a reduced price. They are quite unique, and there's not a chance that you'll see one again for a very long time, so if there's something that you really want, definitely recommend that you buy it, or that's what I've heard anyway from the developers and the other influencers that have said that. But they've also been placed in relevant places to where you might actually use them. So if you've got a track car that's been upgraded, it might be placed near a race circuit. I think AR12 Nick found that Subaru BRZ Forza edition near the Alpine region because it's obviously lifted, it's like a monster truck, so it works best in that region. So they are strategically placed, so you might be able to find one and think, oh, I can jump into it and then go to that drift zone or to that race or to that area. So that's really cool. So not only have you got that feature of aftermarket cars, they are placed in a useful way so that you can actually jump into them and use them straight away without having to plan how you want to use them too much. But of course, once you've bought them, they're yours. You can do what you want with them. You can remove the upgrades if you want to, but it is a cheaper way of getting some of the rarer cars in the game. You can fast travel to anywhere you've previously been only, so whereas previously in Horizon games unlocking the fast travel boards, the more fast travel boards that you smashed, the lower the price it would be to fast travel to a location. Well, in this game it doesn't cost you anything to fast travel, but you can only fast travel to somewhere that you've been before, so you have to have driven down that road first and then you can fast travel there. So that's quite useful. It means that you don't have to unlock all of the fast travel boards and spend ages doing that before you can then fast travel for free. So that's really useful, so you're not going to be spending too many credits on that. Okay, well, you're not going to be spending any credits at all, are you? And also it'll allow you to focus on different things without thinking, oh, for God's sake, I've got to unlock all of them if I want to travel for free. You don't have to do that anymore, but you will have to travel around a bit if you want to then fast travel there. And obviously, ultimately, once you've discovered all of the roads, you can then fast travel to anywhere you want. That might take a while, but it is a really cool feature, and it'll encourage people to go exploring and finding these interesting areas of the map. So that's a very good decision, and I quite like that. And I think that is about it for this video. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to waffle on for too much longer. I think I've covered quite a few interesting bits there. As I said at the start of the video, the aim for this video wasn't to cover everything that we have learned. It wasn't to tell you stuff that you've already knew. It was to tell you some bits that you already knew, but with a bit of a twist, and focusing on the things that I personally found quite interesting when I was watching the developer showcases and the influencer videos like AR12 Nick, for example. I watched pretty much all of his videos, and most of them points came from them when I was seeing him doing stuff, either talking about it or picking up on it myself. So that was the plan for this video, and I hope that that's kind of been what I've delivered. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you're looking forward to Horizon 6 like I am. Less than 2 days to go now until Premium Edition, and less than a week until the Standard and Deluxe Editions. So really not long to go now until we can actually jump into all of this that I've talked about in the video. So thank you for watching. I will see you hopefully on Friday on the Horizon 6 live stream. Bye!